didn't hear you guys come in. I'll bet you're here for another video. Well, I've got one for you. Hi everybody and welcome back to the Renaissance Builder. So today I got a video and I apologize, I'm a little bit out of order with my videos. I've been working on a project. In fact, there's some pieces of this project here going on. So I wasn't really planning on doing a tool review, but something came up and I thought we might as well do it anyhow. I have here my Milwaukee M12 portable bandsaw, that is. Now, I really like this thing. Like, this was one of those purchases that was like, you can get along without it, but man, this thing makes life a lot easier. It isn't the largest. Like, you only have maybe a 2-inch space here to cut things, like 2-inch pipe. Like, I'm not even sure it could do 2-inch black pipe, but like 1.5 PVC is no problem. It's not the biggest, but it's definitely handy, especially if you're doing like ready rod, 3/8 rod, unistrut, that type stuff. Slice right through it. And it just makes life so much easier. It's a lot different than a sawzall. A reciprocating saw or sawzall tends to shake everything a lot. Whereas this acts a lot more like a normal bandsaw where it pinches the item up against the backstop and then just grinds away at it like that. So you don't get any reciprocating action, it doesn't shake your hand to pieces, and it actually cuts a lot faster because of that. The blades last longer. They're going in the right direction the whole time instead of only 50% of the time. So anyway, I like this tool, but I noticed that the blade was starting to run on the wheels wrong, and I thought, well, there's usually an adjustment. And then I looked at this here little thing and it said, like right here, there's a little knob that says adjustment, and then it says read the directions. And I went, who reads the directions? So I started adjusting it and I went too far, and lo and behold, the thing came out of the socket. Like the screw came out of its receptacle in there. So now I have to open her up and try and repair that. So let's go over taking this thing apart. First thing we're going to do, unplug the battery so that we don't hurt ourselves. The next thing, it's pretty simple. To get to the blade is simple enough anyhow. So you undo these latches and you fold open this cover. I still got a little bit of dirt in here. I cleaned it up a bit, but I still got a little dirt in here. Now, to undo the blade, you flip it over and there's this lever. So you push this lever that way and it takes the tension that moves one of the wheels this direction. It takes the tension off of the blade. So now we can pull the blade up and out. And there's our blade. Pretty simple. Doesn't look like I'm missing any teeth or anything. It's in pretty decent shape yet. Alright, so here's where it gets tricky. So the piece I need to get to is underneath this wheel, and I'm pretty sure it's underneath this metal bracket. So I need to take both these wheels off, and then I need to take off this metal bracket. Now this requires an Allen socket to take these bolts off. So I gotta find my Allen sockets. Let's see if I have one up here. Well, so much for being prepared. Now I have to go get an Allen socket, or wrench, Allen wrench. I'll be back. All right. Now that we have the Allen wrench, I can proceed with this thing. And I'm hoping, so these are Torx bit screws. So I'm hoping that our iFixit kit here will actually have the size Torx bits that we need. So this is no big deal. Hold firmly. Like very firmly. Oh, there we go. And undo these. Now, mind you, right, if you guys are using this as like a tutorial as to what to do with this thing, this bolt, it's a 1/4-inch Allen wrench that you need. The bolt, dropsies, has blue nylock on it. Now, blue nylock isn't like the absolute permanent stuff, but I wouldn't do this too many times because that stuff will wear out, and then, well, I guess if you do it too many times, then you should at least reapply the blue nylock. Not the red, the blue. The red, and you'll be hating yourself. Metal washer. Then, you're going to come out for me? Plastic washer. So the plastic washer goes on first, and then the metal washer goes on. So the metal washer comes off first, and then the plastic washer. It's very important to keep that in the order, correct order. Plastic washer against the wheel. So if you guys are using this as a tutorial, just keep that in mind. The motor wheel is keyed, so make sure you keep that key where you won't lose it. Alright, so that's the motor wheel. The idler or tension wheel. There we go, that wasn't too difficult. Oh, these are those stupid ball socket wrenches. They're junk. Whatever. Again, 1/4 inch Allen socket bolt. Metal washer. It probably is a good idea to put the bolt and washers back on the bolt the same way that they came off. That way you know the order to put them back on again. Either way, there you go. Now this one has an extra washer that goes between the wheel and the shaft, because in this case it's an idler or a tensioner, so the shaft doesn't spin, so it acts as like a little lubrication on the back side of the shaft. Alright, so that's off. Then there's another metal washer. So if you're paying attention and writing a list down, small metal washer goes on the tensioner shaft, then the plastic washer, then the wheel, then the plastic washer, metal washer, bolt. On the drive side, it's the wheel, plastic washer, metal washer, bolt. Get that mixed up and it'll probably still work, but something might go goofy on you. So keep that in mind, it's important. Alright, so here are the Torx head bolts that I'm talking about. They're not very big. If I went and got my snap-on set, I guarantee I'd have that size, but I don't feel like going and getting my snap-on set. So let's see if our iFixit kit has that size. Let's set this up so you can... Yep, no, that's just... whatever. It's kind of clumsy. All we want is the driver, so we're going to take that out. Set this to the side. Alright, where's our Torx bits? Here we go. Let's try this size. That is actually too big. So we're going to step down a size. Perfect. See there? iFixit kit. Good for more than just phones. Alright, so now we're going to go through, as far as I know, the order of these screws doesn't matter quite as much, but pay attention to size and length. That way, if you have to, you can put them back in the same order. So what I'm going to do is lay these screws out the way, or I'm going to lay these screws down on the table the way that I take them out. If you're wondering why I'm not using the wow stick, it's because it's not strong enough. Piece of crap. And finally here. Alright, now it looks like there's 4 screws right around. Whew, that's a tough one. There we go. These ones are slightly different, so lay those out accordingly. This is something you always want to be very mindful and delicate of, so you don't just strip the screw heads or break your tool bits. Although I have to admit, these bits are performing marvelously so far. Alright, screws are laid out. Now we can take this plate off. Ta-da! Set this over to the side here. Well, that's some pretty straightforward stuff right there. Looks like we have some wires that go to a little LED that illuminates your throat. I'm pretty sure that's what they call it, the throat. Then you've got some wires that go, okay, I guess they go from the trigger to the motor, because you don't want to put that in the handle, I guess? I don't know. Whatever, that's how they decided to do it. Alright, and here is where we have, yep, that's it right there. So this is the screw on the other side that decided to come off on me, and I couldn't get it back in. So, oh, look at that, it's a nylock. Try and hold it in place, I guess. Oh, and of course they use a Phillips head inside of it, right? Now this screw specifically is there to... Yes, I know, I'm getting out the Klein tools. I like Klein tools. This screw is here specifically as an adjustment. If you'll notice, this shaft floats. It actually floats around quite a bit. Oh, look at that. It floats around a lot. There's some anti-seize in there, for good reason. So, what's actually happening here is, for one, you want this thing to float because did I say one or two? So, for one, you want this thing to float so that if anything happens as far as alignment or tension, that it has room for forgiveness. Two, this is actually used, this little eccentric here is used to apply the tension, and what it's doing is it's pushing on this metal piece, and that then pulls pressure on the springs, and then the springs push on the shaft, which, you know, then pushes on the wheel and pushes on the blade. Now the other, I guess, axis, the other axis, so that control, so you can see it moving right like that, right? And these springs are there to maintain tension whilst allowing a little bit of motion for forgiveness. The other axis of adjustment is this here screw right here. So this angle, like if you look at it this way, it's this angle right here. The more you put the angle this way, the blade will start to ride out. And if you put the angle this way, the blade will start to ride in. So I had a problem with the blade riding out, and I went and adjusted it the wrong way, way too far. So we got to stick this one back in, at least get it threaded to the point that I can adjust it from the backside, because that screw you can access from here. Alright. That's all I needed to do, was put that screw back in place. Now I can put her back together. So we put the plate down on. It does have its own little home to live in. And we're going to put the screws back in reverse order, and since I laid them out the way they were in, or since I laid them out on the table the way they were installed, we can stick them right back in. Now for now, here's a little trick, a little tip for you, any of you guys out there that may not do this very often. A little tip anytime you're installing something that requires a bunch of screws or bolts: don't tighten any of them until they're all in. That way you can get them all in by the time you tighten them, because if you tighten one up or two up before they're all in, then you run the risk of not being able to get them all in, just because of, you know, alignments and stuff. So don't tighten them all up till they're all in. All right, plate's back on. Let's go ahead and start putting the pulleys back on. Now I'm going to start with the motor pulley, and again, there's a key in there, so eyeball that up, make sure that goes in correctly, or you can just do it that way. Line the keyways up and slip her on in. So plastic washer, metal washer, bolt. These ones you want to be pretty tight. Like, you don't want these things coming out. That should do it. And that is the point of the Loctite, is to make sure the screws don't just come loose and fall out on you. Alright, that's the motor side. Tensioner side. Small metal washer goes down first. Plastic washer goes down second. Wheel. Plastic washer. Metal washer. Bolt. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the band back on, and then we're going to go through adjusting it so that the band rides straight on the wheels. Once that band is in its groove, you take the tensioner and pull her all the way clockwise. Alright. Now the band is installed. We're going to put the battery in, and this is where you guys got to be really careful if you're doing this. Battery in so the tool's live now. Don't cut yourself. Like, in fact, I can do this with the shroud on and still see if it's worked. Nope. The blade is still sliding out. So what's happening is the blade is trying to ride off of the wheels. So what I'm going to do is take my handy dandy flat. Now, this is kind of backwards. And it gives you a little arrow here. But we are going to, alright, cool. We're going to adjust this tension. There we go. Now I've got it so that the blade is riding square on the wheels. That way it doesn't try to slide off, because sliding off is just going to end up grooving out your shield. And unfortunately, I mean, actually it's probably a benefit for this to be plastic. Well, either way. If your blade ends up riding off, it jams up and it cuts up your shield, and, you know, nothing good comes of that. So, there you have it. Now we can cut stuff with it again. Like I said, I really like this tool. It has plenty of power. Like, in fact, you could even use the smaller batteries on this thing and it would be plenty fine. There's a little LED up in there to illuminate whatever it is that you're cutting. Anything, you know, if you're cutting pipe 1.5 inches and down, if you're cutting ready rod or small rods, or especially if you got to cut a bunch of them. Like, I remember a long time ago, you know, I'd have to use the Sawzall to cut a bunch of 3/8 ready rod. You'd go over there and you'd like tape it up, or if you were really brave, you would just hold it really tight, like hold the bundle and then go at it with the Sawzall, and it always made a mess. You always ended up with a little burr on the end of it. It was just pain. This, like, straight up, put them all in there, and you just, and I mean, it just cuts right down through them. Like, it's like just right down through them. And the cut is nice and smooth. Like, I'm telling you, if you guys are doing repetitive cutting, you will love to have one of these things. They also make bigger versions if you're cutting bigger stuff than that. Like, I think they make a version that goes up to 4-inch, like has a 4-inch throat. So that's pretty big. That would reach around a 3-inch pipe, I think. Yeah, I could be wrong. It could be 3-inch. But either way, they make bigger versions of this for bigger items. This one I love, does the job great for me. So I'm going to stick with this. So thank you very much for joining me in this here video, guys. Again, Milwaukee isn't paying me for these videos. I just happen to like their products. I don't even know if DeWalt has one of these. They probably do, but whatever. I like Milwaukee's. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Maybe you'll find it useful. Maybe one of you guys out there is looking how to retension one of these things yourself, and well, there you go. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed. We got some really interesting videos coming along, some other build projects like this gadget that I'm working on right here. Thank you very much, everybody. You guys have a good night.
Bye-bye.